college. He is also the current president of the President's Association. Randall has been a good supporter of this program and has sent people many, many years. Dr. Shackleford is known for his progressiveness and his participative management style. We're happy to have him today, and so I'd like to present to you the class of 2016.
Class of 216. You look good for how old you are. Well, it's great to be with you today. It's a nice day for a drive over here, and I look forward to meeting with you, and hope you've had a good day. I want to talk about something that is very dear to my heart, but that is ethics and leadership. And sometimes I talk about this, and I entitle it "The Ethics, the Heart of Leadership." And I'll show you kind of why I believe that. I'm going to jump right into it. I'd like to chit-chat with you in a few minutes, but I've got more material to go and I've got time to do it. But it's all important. I can't decide to cut out anything, so I'm going to talk fast and don't buckle up. But I am Bob Shackleford, Randolph Community College. Let's see, anything interesting. Oh, okay, I've got 3 children, aged 39, 36, and 11. So I have an 18-year-old granddaughter and an 11-year-old son. Life's interesting in my house. I was at the car dealership one Saturday morning, getting my oil changed several years ago, and my little boy was 1, my granddaughter was 7, almost 8, and he was just starting to walk, and he reached up and took over her fingers, and she walked behind him, and the lady that worked there came up and said, "Honey, that is so sweet. Is that your brother?" "No, ma'am, that's my uncle." Anyway, ethics in leadership. This is such an important topic, and I want to start off with something. I know you're going to talk about something. I'm just going to go through this quickly, but these are some key traits of leadership, and I want to get them to you because I want to show you where ethics kind of fits in. Vision is a key trait of leadership, and vision I don't mean like I see dead people. I'm not talking about spooky vision. I'm talking about vision. To me, the clearest definition of vision in leadership is, people get distracted by clutter all the time in their work, and how many times we get frazzled during the day because there's all this clutter coming at us from every direction. And it's easy to lose sight of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish and where we're headed because we get so tied up with the clutter. People with vision are able to see through the clutter to keep their eye on where they're headed and how they plan to get there. These are people who see where you're going, how to get there, and they don't live in the distractions. So vision. And vision is important in leadership because if you don't know where you're going, why would anyone follow you? And if no one's following you, you're not a leader. So vision is huge. Being able to see through the clutter and keep your eye on the goal. Knowledge. Well, even if you see the goal and you say, "Well, come follow me," there's an exciting thing we can do at our college or in our department or in our program. "Come follow me," and they say, "Well, that is an exciting vision. Do you know how to get there?" "Well, no, not really." They won't follow you. The ability, some people dream dreams, but they don't know how to build bridges to get there. And that's what the knowledge is about. So it's the vision and the knowledge that work together in great leaders. And then courage. The truth is, most leadership positions are going to require people to make difficult decisions. You cannot do great things without ruffling any feathers, causing any friction, or making any uncomfortable decisions. And I know people who have a lot of capability to be leaders, but they don't have the courage to make the difficult decisions. And they let things go on that shouldn't go on, and they let things happen that shouldn't happen, and they don't hold people accountable, they don't make the difficult decisions, and you can't reach your goal. So courage, the ability and willingness to make the difficult decisions. Energy. energy, it's been interesting to me in this presidential campaign. It's the first presidential campaign I ever remember. I'm a political junkie. I sit up and watch that stuff all night long, election years especially. And this is the first political campaign I ever remember where candidates are on stage calling each other, well, he's low energy. Well, when has that ever been pointed out as a leadership trait before? But it's certainly been pointed out this year, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It takes energy to be a leader, and effective leader. You can't just come dragging in. You've got to be on and ready, and it's just something that is an important part of what you do. I hope when I come in here today, you have no idea whether I'm rested up and doing well, or whether I'm running in by the seat of my pants. But I hope you don't know. If I come in and lean across, y'all mind if I? Okay. Actually, the truth is, it's interesting, actually, the truth is in Washington last week, as in Raleigh yesterday, went home last night just in time to get my wife to take her to the emergency room, got home after midnight, got to bed at 2:30, got up at 6 o'clock, actually 10 minutes to 6, to take my 11-year-old to school this morning so I could be at a 7:30 breakfast and speak on the North Carolina bond. And then went to other meetings and just left the meeting with the chair of our county commissioners and zoomed here through the Raleigh traffic and drove up here. And if I stop to think about it, I'm tired. But I hope I don't drag in that way because I'm excited to be here. It takes energy. It takes energy. Charisma. What is charisma? It is the ability to inspire and motivate. The ability to encourage others to catch their attention and to motivate them to be their better selves and to join with you in a mission that's important, that's worthwhile. So some of these things are kind of within you, whether you have courage or when you, charisma kind of is your influence over other people. Do you have the ability to make an impact on others, to catch their attention in a positive way that rallies them to the mission? Resilience. Now, what if I said here this afternoon, y'all just look like great leaders to me, and I know in your future roles you're going to be fantastic leaders until the first time you trip and skin your knee, the first time you make a boo-boo, the first time you make a mistake, the first time you make a decision that doesn't work out. Once you have your first failure, your leadership career is over. How long do you think this is going to last? We all have our moments. We all have scars on our knees where we trip. Leaders are not the people who don't make mistakes. They're the people who pick themselves up. I told my college my first Friday there, I started on Tuesday, January 2nd, 9 years ago. And I told them on Friday when we had this big convocation of all the faculty staff, my first chance to address them as their new president. And one of the things I covered in that address was, what can you expect of me? And the first thing I said on that list was, you can expect me to make mistakes. Because I'm going to try some things. The only way not to make mistakes is not to do anything, and that's a mistake. And so we're going to try some things. We're going to make some decisions. We're going to move some things forward. We're going to reshuffle the deck. And that's okay. And if I make a mistake and we realize that mistake, I'm going to tell you I made a mistake. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry. This is the information I had. This is what I thought. It didn't work out that way. Let's regroup. I need some input. Where do we go from here? Resilience. Don't let failure be fatal. It's just another lesson along the way. Focus. Well, could call that focus, I could call it passion. Enthusiasm. Knowing why you're doing what you do. We have on our campus, I know each college has, we used to to have you remember we had the big system banquet for the students every year, and they had the banners up on the walls. I love sitting there and taking notes on the different banners, models. I enjoyed that. But I know I've worked on in colleges where the motto was just that. It was just a gimmick. It was a motto. And I worked in places where it really, really meant something. I worked in a place one time where the motto was "People who care," and the students made fun of it and called it, well, really it ought to be "People who cares." and you don't want your motto to be like that. You want your mission to be something that really is pertinent, something that people know and understand. On our campus, it's 4 words: creating opportunities, changing lives. Our students know that, our faculty staff know that, our janitors know that, our groundskeepers know that, our trustees know that, our community knows that. Creating opportunities, changing lives. That is our focus. And I think one of the things that I tell our people, one of the things that makes our college great, and I tell all of our faculty staff this, is that we have more people every day who get out of their cars to come into work, not just to punch a clock and draw a check, but you really believe that today you have an opportunity to come in, meet with students, and create opportunities and change lives. So that focus is important in leadership. You know what you're doing. You're not just trying to be busy, but you know what you're busy trying to accomplish. And then integrity. Integrity. And we'll talk a little more about what that is, but what are some words that come to your mind when I say the word integrity? Character, honest, trustworthy. You're right on target. This is so important that I call it the indispensable trait. A good leader can be effective with any combination of these traits. There are people who may really be off the charts on 3 or 4 of these, and about the middle on a couple of them, and maybe one area is not your forte, but you surround yourself with people who are good in those areas. And you can do that. You can be an effective leader with any combination of these traits. But there is one trait without which you cannot be an effective leader, even if you excel in all 7 of the others. And that is integrity. Even if you have vision, and knowledge, and courage, and energy, I mean, you go down the list. If you excel in all of those and fail in integrity, you will fail as a leader. I mean, if we do that, we are a crash waiting to happen. It's like seeing somebody drunk and crazy driving up the interstate, zigzagging in and out of traffic, drunk, going 90 miles an hour, and you know, just hold your breath. We're getting ready to see a bad crash. I get that same picture when I see a leader. And I've seen leaders who are talented and smart, brilliant, courageous, charisma, but they lack integrity. They're like that drunk car zigzagging in and out of traffic. In just a matter of time, you're going to see them over on the side of the road and put them upside down. Now, what's the second word on this slide? Myth. Everybody said most. Myth. And what is a myth? Something people believe to be true, and it's not. Here's a leadership myth. In most situations in life and work, there is right and wrong, good and bad. It's mostly black and white. Now see, if I said in here, look, I'm doing a presentation on ethical leadership. How many of you are interested in being an ethical leader? Well, all hands will go up. Of course we are. We think, well, that's not too difficult, because when a decision comes to you, it's either good or bad, so choose the good. It's either right or wrong, so choose the right. If you choose the good and the right consistently, you'll be an ethical leader. Now, what was the second word on this slide? Myth. That's not the way it works out. Now, what's the second word on this slide?
Reality.
most of what you deal with as a leader will be some shade of gray. You will often have to choose between good and better, between bad and worse. You may have to decide whether to do the least desirable thing in order to accomplish the best outcome, or do the most desirable thing, knowing that it will result in the least desirable outcome. It's not always good and bad, right and wrong. It will rarely be black and white. In fact, let me say that by just in my own experience, and I've been every role from student to faculty member to the department chair, to dean, to vice president, to president, in my role right now, by definition, when any decision reaches my desk, it's complicated. If it was simple, does it need to be on my desk? It already got solved somewhere down the hall. They don't bring simple things. They don't come to me and say, Dr. Shackleford, we have a student here who's got a transcript in, she's applying for our nursing program, she's got a 4.0 and great references and did well in biology. You think we ought to include her in our nursing? You think we ought to put her in the lineup for consideration? They didn't come to me with that. They saw that down the hall. By definition, by the time it gets to me, it's conflict. It's gray. It's fuzzy. It's not right or wrong. It's not black or white. It's not good or bad. And so that's why leaders have to learn to deal in shades of gray. The leadership challenge is that you have to set the ethical tone, and everything else flows from that. Now let me give you, and look at that last one. If you preach ethics and then have an ethical lapse, that'll eat you alive. Now that's the truth. I mean, you know, a businessman can do something wrong, and everybody says, let a preacher do something wrong. Woo, did you read that in the paper? Now they go out there because somebody preaching ethics and then has a lapse. That's why these politicians and these rock stars and the athletes and all, a lot is expected of these people. Well, here's the deal. Setting the ethical tone at the top. I just finished reading a book about President Nixon. It's a fascinating book, and it's entitled "Being Nixon: A Divided Man." And I wish I could talk more, have time to get into this, but I want to just give you one powerful example of this. And those of you who remember Watergate or read about Watergate, and there was a break-in of the Democratic National Headquarters, and they were trying to find out, was this just some third-rate burglars who didn't know what they're doing, or who all was involved, and it kept getting higher and higher and higher. And finally, it was the president's men, his right-hand men, his senior leadership team, his personal advisors who knew about this. And of course, now Congress is asking, well, what did Mr. Nixon know? And when did he know it? And that was what the whole Watergate hearing was based on. Who knew this and was involved in the cover-up? You read this book, it's hundreds and hundreds of pages. And what it comes down to is so relevant to this point, is that he did not know about the break-in. But he was held accountable because he set into place an environment where he said, I want the secrets of my enemies. I want to know all the junk. I want to know everything you can find a way to get it. And his people took it from him that my job is to figure out how to break in and get files and get secrets. And so then when they did it and got arrested, I said, he truthfully said, I did not know about the break-in. But who set the tone? He's the only president that ever had to resign from office. He did not know about the break-in, but he was held accountable because he set the tone and said, do your dirty tricks, get the dirty laundry, and bring it to us so I can not trick my opponents. And even though he can honestly say, I swear on a stack of Bibles, I did not know about the Watergate break-in, he was held accountable because he set the tone at the top. That's how important leadership is, ethics and leadership. It's not just that you keep your hands clean like okay, y'all go fudge on FTE, but don't tell me about it, because if they call, I'm going to say, oh, I didn't know about that. No, wait a minute. You set the ethical tone. Ethics. Simply saying here that you can have all the leadership ability and potential in the world, but if you fail in integrity, you will fail. Are y'all with me? I'm having to talk way faster than I want to. Everybody with me? What is integrity? You know these definitions. This is nothing new to you. You ever been around people who are one way when they're around you, and then you see them around someone else, they're a different kind of person? Some people wear masks, don't they? And they leave this table and come over here, oh wait, let me change, okay. And wear my appropriate mask. We're consistent. We're dependable, we're trustworthy, we're honest. We do the right thing. We do the right thing. I think this is interesting. Somebody might know we were the last of the 13, original 13 states to have a motto. We finally got one, and we all learned this in elementary school. It's equality to be rather than to seem, or rather than to seem to be. But if you ever thought about it in one word, that is integrity. To be rather than to seem to be. You ever thought about integrity? Is our state motto. It's that important. Now, so if I said how many of you would be an ethical leaders, all hands go up. How many think most people in general would want to be an ethical leader? Most people's hands go up. Well, if 90-95% of people would want to be an ethical leader, why is it so challenging? Why do we have so many unethical leaders? Why do we have so many leaders who crash and burn if everybody would like to be an ethical leader? Well, I want to give you some examples here of why it is not altogether easy to always maintain your integrity. And I'll give you some examples of that. One is groupthink. You know what groupthink is? People do in a crowd what they would not do alone. And if everybody in your institution, everybody in your department, everyone in your office is doing the right thing, you're not likely to step up and say, well, I'm going against the grain. I'm going to cheat, I'm going to lie, I'm going to steal. But if it's all around you, it's an easier step to get there. Groupthink. The space shuttle that exploded in 1986. We hear that 10, 9, 8. That countdown starts a couple months before the launch. And it is thousands and thousands and thousands of items that have to be checked off, every item before that thing launches. And if anything stops that launch, if it's serious enough that the space shuttle has to be, they have to come down off the countdown, and they have to remove it. They have to take all the fuel out. They have to go remove it, put it back in the hangar. It costs millions of dollars to put off the launch. And so here they go for weeks. How about this computer? Check. How about that computer? Check. How about electronics in this sector? Check. How about water temperature in that sector? Check. On and on and on, day and night for weeks. Then they get down to the very critical things that day. And finally, the closer you get, the more critical it gets. Check, 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 check. And everybody's saying, this bird's ready to fly. Well, on that fateful day, they got to the people who were in charge of the O-rings. Now, the O-rings are simply the big washers, the fuel cells on the side of the rocket, the big with the points on the side of the rocket hold the fuel. And that is not one solid sheet of metal. It's several tanks bolted together. And in order to keep fuel from leaking out, they put these rubber washers there to hold them to seal them. And those rubber washers are fine unless they get too cold and they become hard and brittle, and then they don't seal the gap, and then fuel leaks out. They said it can only fly at this temperature. Well, that morning it's cold, there's frost on the ground. Check, 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 check. O-rings. Oh my, team, what do y'all think? O-rings. Well, it's like half a degree to a degree below what they said. Well, you know there's got some leeway. It's not like it'll fly 31.75 degrees, but it'll blow up at 31.7 degrees. Well, I know, but how much wiggle room is that? I don't know. But what do y'all think? Well, if it wasn't safe, somebody would have said so already. I mean, it can't just depend on this. We've had everybody for 2 weeks saying check, 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 check. And now stuff that, well, if we say nothing, you know, they're going to fault us. It's billions of dollars to take this thing down off here. What do y'all think? Well, I think it's close enough to the margin line. But you know, they drew a line. They said not below them. We were right at it. O-rings. Check. And down the list they went. Launch. And 70-some seconds later, a huge explosion. Everybody said, what happened? The investigation found that the O-rings were too cold. It turned hard and brittle. Fuel leaked out between the fuel tanks. And it hit that fire. It exploded. It won. And don't you know those people thought, well, if this thing was not safe to fly, somebody else would have said something in the past couple of weeks. We wouldn't be the only ones out here. We thought it was ready to fly. Everybody else thought it was. See, that's groupthink. And groupthink makes it sometimes difficult to see clearly about making an ethical decision. Moral relativism. Some people believe right is right and wrong is wrong. Some people believe, well, it depends. That's a hard question. How many believe right is right and wrong is wrong? There are some absolutes. How many believe it all depends? I saw a couple of same hands go up on both sides. It's interesting, in natural studies, a third of the population believes right is right and wrong is wrong. A third of the population believes that it all depends, and a third of the population says, I don't know. It's really a tough question. Because sometimes it does depend, but if you say there's not right and wrong, everybody choose your own right and wrong. In other words, as long as you can justify it, do it. Now where does that leave society? How many of us have ever done anything we knew we shouldn't do, but we found a reason to do it? Well, it just depends. But if you say right is right and wrong is wrong, now who said they believe right and right and wrong is wrong? You. Well, if I have a heart attack here, I don't want you driving me to the hospital because that sign out there says 35 miles an hour. I want you to go 75. Because it depends. We're not riding up to Hardee's. We're going to the hospital. And I know what the sign says, but forget that. It depends. It's a complicated question. Here's the deal. Most people who violate ethical behavior and make unethical decisions have a good reason in their mind why they thought it would be okay. Well, ordinarily, we go by the policy in hiring people, but this is a trustee's niece. Yeah, but we have a policy, right is right, wrong is wrong. I said, this is not that. I don't understand that. So what if you hire her, and then what if, remember the foundation board's niece? wants a job. Well, we don't do that. Wait, you've already said it, Preston. Right's right and wrong, not wrong here. Moral relativism is a slippery slope. And do any of you have a policy at your college that nobody is to be put on a performance improvement plan or let go or dismissed? We don't fire people at Randolph Community College. We make them available to the industry. Do any of you have a policy that says no one is going to be held accountable for unethical decisions as long as they can justify it in their own minds? No. This makes ethical decision making challenging. Institutional culture. How many of you have ever worked in more than one college? Was the culture exactly the same? Now, how many of you ever had a job anywhere, not just a college, how many of you ever had a job anywhere where the culture of the place made you uncomfortable? Look at that. My father was a boiler maker, building boilers and electric power plants. Hard working man, went to work every day with a lunch pail, hard hat, work boots, and work gloves. Building these huge boilers like the size of this room, these electric power plants, to boil water to take the water in off the river and boil it, turn it into steam. The steam turns into turbines that generate electricity. Hard work, he was hard working, good, honest. I spent my life trying to be more like him. My father died young, relatively young, along with most of the men he worked with, because they decided the best way to control the heat of the boilers was with asbestos. Now here's the deal. My family and I and other families have seen the documents, the minutes from board meetings of these companies in 1948, which was 2 years before my father went to work for them, and even longer than that before I was born. We've seen the documents where engineers, safety engineers, went to the corporate meetings and said, this asbestos in these places create fibers and they'll breathe it, and the body cannot process the fibers, they never get out, and eventually these men will die. And the engineer said, we will be happy to design a different way to control the heat in these boilers. It's hard to believe this, I have seen it with my own eyes. But we have seen where corporate members said, it will be cheaper to pay off the death claims than to change the way we control the heat in the boilers. And the engineer said, well, maybe we can have them put on like surgical masks and work with that. That would help keep out. But we can't do that because that will alert